Welcome to the HUD Environmental Review online system e-tutorial. This is one in a series of video tutorials on completing an environmental review through HEROS. HEROS allows HUD and its recipients to complete and certify their environmental reviews online. The certification screen in HEROS allows up to 4 users to electronically certify the environmental review record. Just like the HUD Form 4128, there are 4 certifications on this form: Preparer, Supervisor, Environmental Clearance Officer, and Approving Official. In this video, we will demonstrate how preparers, supervisors, environmental clearance officers, and approving officials, including CPD directors, PIH directors, hub directors, and ONAP administrators, can use HEROS to approve and certify their environmental reviews completed by HUD staff under Part 50. All users who approve or certify Part 50 environmental reviews need to have access to HEROS. If you do not have access, follow instructions provided by your program office to request access. Before the review can be certified, the HUD staff responsible for the review will work with any partners, including HUD recipients, applicants, and consultants, to complete the environmental review in HEROS. They will use HEROS to document every step in the environmental review process, including defining the project, documenting compliance with all related laws and authorities, and making all required findings. When the environmental review is ready for finalization, the HUD staff preparer will certify the review in the Preparer section of the certification screen. Just as they would on the HUD Form 4128, they would certify that they have independently evaluated the contents of the environmental review, that the review is now complete, and whether they recommend the project for approval. Only HUD staff may edit this screen. To complete this certification, check off all appropriate boxes and enter any additional comments in the text box provided. The certifier's name and the date will fill in automatically, but the title must be entered manually. The user must press the Certify button to complete the certification. The certification will not be saved until the user selects the Certify button and sees this pop-up. Once this certification is complete, the HUD preparer will notify the next party to certify the environmental review using the email notification option at the bottom of the certification screen. Users should enter the email address of the next certifier, as well as their own email address to be copied on the email. Press the Send Notifications button once both email addresses have been entered. Users should then press the Exit button to return to the My Environmental Reviews dashboard. The next user to certify the environmental review will receive a system-generated email directing them to the review. This email will contain the name of the project, the HUD program funding the project, a link to HEROS, and the name and email address of the user who has requested their certification. Upon logging into HEROS, users will be directed to the My Environmental Reviews dashboard. To find the relevant environmental review on the dashboard, note the name of the project entered in the system-generated email. It may be necessary to search or filter within the dashboard to find the desired project. Reviews can be sorted or filtered by clicking on any column header or entering keywords in the column header's text box. Select the radio button next to the desired review and press the Edit Selected Environmental Review button at the bottom of the screen. The user will then be directed to screen 1105, Initial Screen, which contains basic information on the project's funding and the parties involved. Before certifying, users should review the contents of the environmental review in HEROS and ensure that the environmental review record is accurate and complete. There are 2 ways of reviewing the environmental review record. Users may choose to navigate through each screen in the system using the Save and Continue buttons on the side menu or the side menu on the left side of each screen to review each screen individually. The second and recommended option is to go directly to screen 6350, Certifications, using the side menu to review the environmental review record as a single document. Press the View Environmental Review Record button at the top of that screen. A separate window will appear and generate a Microsoft Word version of the complete environmental review record for you to review. Once the user has reviewed the environmental review record, they may certify the review on screen 6350, Certification. Users should complete only the certification appropriate to their title. The review preparer supervisor should complete the supervisor section. The environmental clearance officer's certification is required if the project affects over 200 lots, dwelling units, or beds. Only users with special environmental clearance officer user privileges may complete this section. Finally, the approving official completes the last certification to approve or reject the project. Note that not all projects will require all 4 certifications. Users should follow existing protocols within their office or program to determine which certifications are required. The process to complete each certification is the same. The user should check all appropriate boxes and provide any additional comments in the text box provided. Users' names and the dates will be entered automatically in the appropriate sections, but users must provide their own titles. Users must press the Certify button to complete the certification. The certification will not be saved until the user selects the Certify button and sees this pop-up. When their certification is complete, each user should alert the next user using the email notification option at the bottom of the screen. Users certify as the supervisor or the environmental clearance officer should notify the next certifier that the review is ready for their certification. The approving official should use the email notification option to notify the preparer that the review is ready to be finalized. Users should enter the email address of the next user as well as their own email address to be copied on the email. Press the Send Notification button once both email addresses have been entered. Users should then press the Exit button to return to the My Environmental Reviews dashboard. Once all required certifications have been completed, the preparer should return to the screen to finalize the review. Press either the Project Approved button or the Project Rejected button, depending on the selection made by the approving official. If the project is rejected, the user will be routed back to the My Environmental Reviews dashboard, and the status of the review will be marked Rejected. If the project is approved, the user will be directed to the Complete and Archive Review screen. The completed environmental review is archived on HUD's Environmental Review Record site using screen 6600, Complete and Archive Review. Clicking the Archive button posts the environmental review record online on HUD's website for public review for 1 year, or 5 years for tiered reviews, after completion. The review continues to be stored in HEROS and can be accessed from the system regardless of whether the review is still posted on the HUD website. Once the review has been archived, users should indicate that the review is finished. Clicking the Finish button causes the review to be marked either complete or completed conditioned on mitigation. At this time, all parties involved can be informed that the review is complete and the project has been approved. After the review has been completed, users can continue to edit it from the My Environmental Reviews dashboard. Thank you for your participation. This concludes the e-tutorial on certifying Part 50 reviews on HEROS. For more information on how to use HEROS, watch the other videos in the HEROS e-tutorial series on 1CPD. For additional tutorials and resources, go to the 1CPD resource library.